let's get on to the exercises. I was saying when we were recording the video that when I was recording the class, the issue with these exercises is they are fantastic for you. They're so good for your body. They're so great for your core. Whether you have split abs or not, it's good to take 5 minutes and do these exercises every day. If I know you're also busy, if you have 5 minutes to spare. But we're all rebels. We love running around in the elements, you know, burpees in the mud, that kind of thing. So whenever we do these exercises, sometimes it can seem a little boring, much slower, low intensity, but always worth it, always worth it. So we're going to start with our pelvic tilts. We go back into that position that we were in before, and this is such a slight movement, you probably won't even see me doing it. So always good to take a couple breaths just to relax, just to prepare. And then you're going to breathe in, and as you breathe out, just tilt that pelvis up, pushing that lower back into the floor, and then relax. So you're just doing a slight movement, pulling that pelvis up, pushing the lower back into the ground. And if you can, you want to try and keep breathing normally. It's always what I struggle with. But you're just practicing pulling it in. Maybe try holding for a few seconds. While you're holding, don't hold your breath. Try and keep breathing normally and then relaxing. If you find you're clenching your bum, just relax the knees out to the side. So the goal is to not clench your bum. And it's just the inner core that we're working. The trunk, we tend to call it our trunk, so the abs, the pelvis, the back. And it's just a slight movement. You can also do this one standing. So you're not squeezing, you're just tilting up to the sky and concentrating on that movement. Right, so that is your pelvic tilts. That's quite a nice basic one to start off wherever you are, however old your baby is. It's nice to do pelvic tilts as early on as you can. Next we have our leg slides. So we're staying in this position, just get yourself settled, have that back pushed into the floor. Take a breath in to prepare, and as you exhale, you're sliding that foot forward. Again, trying to keep that breathing normal, and you're just going to alternate that leg as it goes down. Nice slow movements. Is good for this. Again, just check yourself, make sure that you haven't arched that back, lifted up, you're pushing it into the floor. And just swapping that leg over. So this is level 1 for this one. If this feels okay, then we're just going to add in a little swoop. So straighten that leg, lift it up, bend the knee, and then push it back down. Alternate that leg. So lift it up, bend the knee, and then back onto the floor. So for me, these exercises are fine up until I lose concentration. And then I realize, hold on, I'm not using my inner abs, I'm just flailing my legs around. So just slow it down. Concentrate on your breath and concentrate on that slight pelvic tilt, pushing that back into the ground. We'll do one more each side. Okay. So that is our leg slides. Next is our knee raises. So again, just a couple of breaths, just relaxing that body. And then here we go. So back pushes into the floor, slight pelvic tilt, and trying to keep the hips as stable as possible. Just lifting one knee up and then down, and swap it over. So you don't need to lift it in, you're not bringing it right into the chest. And when you're doing this slowly, you should feel it in the deep core muscles, in that trunk. Trying not to hold your breath, just breathing normally, taking it slow. Again, we have a harder version of this one if you want to up the intensity. What we're going to do, we're going to bring the feet up, knees bent. This is when I start to feel my back arch, so try not to let that back arch. And what we're going to do, tap one foot down, lift up. So only do this if your other one felt okay. Keep breathing. And again, we're not just tap, 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 tapping down. We want to slow that movement down. Little tap. Little tap. This is honestly one of my new favorite ab exercises. Even though low intensity, really slow, but I just really feel it. Right inside, right behind that belly button. If you're feeling it in your back, just drop back down into the easier version. That's okay. Our next one is on our hands and knees. Here we are, similar to the pelvic tilt, in fact, exactly the same movement. We're not dipping and arching our back, we're just going to keep back nice and strong, nice and straight, hands underneath shoulders, knees underneath hips, and neck nice and strong, so don't hang that head, keep it in line. Take a breath to prepare, and then as you breathe out, tilt the pelvis down, and then relax. Again, we're trying to keep our breathing normal. As you tilt that pelvis down, you're also bringing the belly button into the spine. But same as your pelvic tilt, you're not really seeing huge or even subtle movements because it's all inside. The hardest thing I find is trying to keep that breathing normal. Once that starts to feel okay, if you try and hold it, so hold with that belly button coming into the spine. Hold for maybe 5 seconds while breathing normally, and then relax. And then hold again, 5 or 6 seconds. And you can do this a few times. And relax it there. There are variations to that one you can do. Sometimes you might find your wrist get a little bit sore. So we'll go back into it. This time you're lifting one hand up at a time. Again, slow movement, nice and steady. When you're lifting, you're not trying to put all that weight into the other arm. You want to keep the weight balanced. Breathing normally. alternating the arms. So this is a slightly harder version to the other one before. So if the other one felt tough enough, just focus on that one, that's okay. After this one, I'll scoop out so you can see. We go for knee raises, so keeping the foot on the floor, hands under shoulders, just lift that knee up a little bit. So there'll be a wee bit of lower body movement, but still trying to keep the trunk as still as possible. So not lifting more than an inch, just a tiny movement. Trying to keep the weight balanced. If you start to feel the hips wiggle, just check yourself, realign, take a couple breaths, and then back into it. And then our last exercise, is it our last? Yeah, I think it is our last. So it's one that we actually do at Prams a few, sometimes we definitely did it in the Zoom workouts as well. It's our Superman. So this is the hardest variation. What we do is you move your left leg and your right arm out as straight as you can without rotating the body. So it's again not one that you just fly through, it's one that you slowly lift up, push back, try and check your balance, see where your weight is. Trying to balance it equally between the leg and the hand, and then swap it over. Bringing it in. Again, try not to rotate those hips. This is one I also find quite tough, because when you lose concentration, you'll just go out and back and not even think about it. But really, if you have the time to just think, take a few seconds, check that balance, see if it is your core you're working. So that is our exercises for Diastasis Recti. Great kind of alternatives you can do if we're ever throwing in crunches or sit-ups in at the Prams and Park classes. Mix it up, feel free to do any of them. If you want any more tips or anything, let me know. If you are really worried about your split ab, what I would recommend is getting a mummy MOT. So Laura Patterson used to be a Prams mum, and she actually does, she's a physio, and she offers mummy MOT. So you can just go in, see how your body's recovering after pregnancy. It can be to check for diastasis recti, but it can also be anything about the pelvic floor, heaviness, leakage, that kind of thing. She's more than happy to help out with that. I will be back on Zoom next Tuesday, 10 a.m, and we're going over all things pelvic floor. Woo! So looking forward to seeing you then. Bye, guys.